Hey everyone, doing a little live. Tuesday night, normally my power yoga night at Presence of Mind, so I thought I'd keep that going. And it's a little earlier than what it's normally on the schedule. It's a 6:15 to 7:15 class, and so we're doing it a little early. We might have some visitors, so you get the real experience of the home yoga, which is why I don't normally have a home practice. So is the sound okay, Ben? He's listening upstairs, but there might be lag. Are we good? Live. All right, so welcome. If you are joining, know that this is still sort of a slow flow practice, but it's a little more vigorous, a little more engaged than the practice on Sunday. It's only an hour, so you should be able to keep up if you have a strong practice, and we'll just get started. So start in table, set your hands underneath your shoulders, knees under hips, belly button to spine, let your spine flatten, yes, ziggy. Let your heart come forward and your tailbone lift. This is going to be really fun. Exhale and round, press into the floor, just get into your spine. Feel that space spread right across your shoulder blades, and then open into your heart center. Flow with the breath, so however that feels good. And you can stay here or start to move in any direction. Let it be really fluid. Get into any tight spaces, anywhere you're holding, anywhere you might feel some emotions bubble up. And if you start to feel any sort of pressure in your wrists, you can always sit back onto your heels, roll your wrists out, flex the fingers, press the tops of the hands, stretch out the tops of the wrists, clasp your hands, make some figure eights, try to go in the opposite direction if you can. And then when you feel ready, you can come right back into it. So I'll actually turn forward and see if this works okay. Set your heart reaching forward. As you inhale, let your right leg reach back. Level the hips, and then let your left hand come forward. Press into that right hand, extend through the left fingertips. Spread your toes wide. Take a deep inhale here, and then exhale your arm and your leg to the diagonal. Inhale back through center. Exhale, open just a little bit wider. See if you can keep that arm and leg parallel to the floor. Inhale back through center, and then exhale all the way open. How wide can you go? And then all the way back through center, reach fingertips and toes. Set the hands, reach through the heart, and then exhale, bring that toe all the way back. Cross to the left side, lengthen through your heart, and then exhale, C shape. So same as we did on Sunday if you joined me. Nice lateral bend. Inhale, come back through neutral. Exhale, touch down. Right away, left leg reaches back. Right arm reaches forward. Big breath in as you lengthen, and then exhale, open to the diagonal. Stabilize through mid-body. Inhale through center. Exhale just a little bit wider. Inhale through center. Exhale all the way open. How wide can you go? And then release. Back through center. Stretch long. Touch down. Take that left leg all the way back, cross, lift through the fingertips, and then exhale, ear toward hip. One more breath. Inhale back through neutral. Let the knees touch down, sink hips to heels. Fingertips reach forward. Forehead to the floor or a block or a pillow. Just surrender here. On your next inhale, roll back. Table pose. Hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Let your heart reach forward. Roll your elbows under. Tuck your toes. Lift your hips. Press back, downward facing dog. Take a little time here. Roll out the toes, the backs of the legs. Sway the hips. And then any movements that feel good. Find your way into stillness. Squeeze left heel down, right leg reaches back. Three-legged dog, press the floor away. Send the heel away from your fingertips, and then bend your right knee, open the hip. Maybe make some circles if that feels good. Just roll through the hip joint. And if you're circling, just reverse. Or just open it up. Set that right leg down. Squeeze into the right heel. Left leg reaches back. Press into the heel. Press hands forward. Bend your knee, open your hip. Keep the shoulders level. And press through the hands really strong. You can make some circles again through the hip. And just be sure you reverse. Open wide. And then set left toes down. On your inhale, roll forward into plank. Set your hands right underneath your shoulders, one line from your head all the way to your heels. And then without moving the hands or the feet, pike the hips up. Press back into the heels. And then again with breath. Inhale, roll forward like a wave. Let the heart come forward. Exhale, press back. Flowing with breath. Inhale. And exhale. Again, inhale. And exhale. Once more. This time, press into the heels, lift your hips, long through the spine. Look forward between your hands, walk feet to the top of your mat. Deep knee bend, chest to thighs, clasp arms, let your head hang. Any movements or stillness here? And then as you find stillness, hands to shins, roll your shoulders back. Arms reach wide, come all the way up to standing. Palms press. Exhale, hands to heart, and then open Tadasana. Full breath in. Some sun salutations. Exhale, forward fold. Modify as needed. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, plant hands, step or float back. Exhale to lower. Inhale to rise. Exhale, press back. As you breathe, just settle into the shape. Set your foundation. Look forward, walk, step, or float to the top of your mat. Lengthen halfway. Exhale, fold. Big sweep up, rise. Exhale, hands to heart. Open Tadasana. Round 2, inhale. Exhale, hinge. Forward fold. Lengthen halfway. Exhale, walk, step, or float back. Slow lower. Inhale to rise. Exhale, press back. Downward facing dog. Full breath out. Bend your knees, look forward, walk, step, or float to the top of your mat. Lengthen halfway and forward fold. Inhale, sweep up. Palms press. Hands to heart. Tadasana. Inhale, rise. Exhale, hinge. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, step or float back. Lower. Open heart. Press back. On that last exhale, all the way out. Look forward, walk, step, or float to the top of your mat. Lengthen halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale to rise. Hands to heart. Tadasana. Inhale. Arms reach. Exhale, hinge. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, step or float back. Inhale to rise. Exhale, press back. 5 breaths. Starting to quiet your mind, let your eyes settle between your ankles. One more round of breath. On that exhale, look forward, walk, step, or float. Lengthen halfway, forward fold. Inhale, sweep up. Hands to heart, open wide. Last round, inhale, sweep up. Exhale, hinge. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, all the way back. Lower and rise, open heart. Exhale, press back. Full breath out. Look forward, walk, step, or float. Lengthen halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep up. Palms press. Hands to heart. Tadasana. Sun salute B. Hands to heart. Bend knees. Sweep your arms forward. Chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. lengthen halfway. Exhale, plant hands, step or float back. Flow through your vinyasa. Press back, downward facing dog. Look forward, right foot steps, back heel grounds. Big inhale, sweep up. Exhale, touch down. Step back, flow, or hold in downward facing dog. Press back. Left foot steps, right heel grounds, sweep up. Exhale, all the way back and flow. Hold in downward facing dog. 5 breaths. Full exhale. Look forward, walk, step, or float to the top of your mat. Lengthen halfway. Exhale, fold. Bend your knees. Lift your chest. Sit down into chair pose. Inhale to rise. Hands to heart. And then open. And again, bend your knees. Lift up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, step or float back. Lower. Inhale to rise. Exhale, press back. Right foot steps forward. Back heel anchors, lift up, warrior one. Exhale, touch down. Step back and flow. Sweep up. Exhale, press back. Look forward, left foot steps. Back heel touches down. Sweep up. Exhale, touch down and flow. 5 breaths, downward facing dog. How's everybody doing? Building some heat. I've got the heat cranked here. Supposedly this virus doesn't like heat, so let's keep it coming. Internal fire. Look forward, walk, step, or float to the top of your mat. Lengthen halfway. Exhale, fold. Bend your knees, sweep the arms, chair pose. Exhale, hands to heart. Open Tadasana. One more round. Bend your knees, sweep up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, back. Lower. Inhale, rise. Exhale, press back. Right foot steps, sweep up, warrior one. Exhale all the way down. Flow. Press back. Left foot steps, sweep up, warrior one. Exhale all the way down. More than ever, connect to your breath. At any time, if you need to bring your knees down, connect with your breath again. Feel free. And just connect with your heartbeat. One more breath out. Look forward, walk, step, or float to the top of your mat. Lengthen halfway. Exhale, forward fold. Bend your knees. Sweep your arms. Hands to heart. Open Tadasana. Stand strong. Give it a little shake if you need. Just feel that flow of energy. And then when you're ready, feet hip width distance or big toes to touch. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, step or float back. Flow and press back. So we'll all meet in downward facing dog. You can skip the vinyasas if you need to. Come back to them whenever you want. Set your foundation really strong. Roll the elbows under. Press into the hands. Grip the floor and press your hips to the sky. Left heel anchors. Right leg reaches back. Three-legged dog. Bend your knee. Open your hip. Keep the shoulders square to start. And let that hip go really deep. You can stay here, or if you have Wild Thing in your practice, you take that your right leg, touch down to the left side, lower the hips all the way down, and then reach to the sky. Right hand, press the hips, maybe come to the toes of that right foot. Maybe reach back, open heart. Come all the way back through center. Send that right leg back. Hips are square. Then bring your knee to your nose. Round and step forward. Lower your back heel. Set up warrior one. Big inhale, sweep up. So we've already explored warrior one a few times. Let's hold it a little bit. If you need a little bit more space for that back leg, if the leg is twisting a little weird, take that front foot out just a little bit. Just toe heel it out toward the outer edge of your mat, and then pull that left hip back. Left hip forward rather, right hip back. Big breath in. Maybe take your eye gaze to the ceiling. Feel like you're coming up out of your waist. And anchor into the floor. Fingertips reach, and then exhale, hands to heart. Tip forward. Take your left elbow outside of your right knee. Prayer twist. If that's too challenging, you can stay lifted through the chest. Left hand to the outside of the right leg. Right arm reaches back behind you. And your challenge is to keep that back heel grounded. If that's too much twist for the leg, come up onto the toes. But if you can, see if you can press into the outer edge of that back foot and then rotate your heart open. Stack your elbows. Keep pulling that right hip back. And then from that prayer twist, turn so that your chest reaches toward the mat, toward the floor, and then take your right elbow to the inside of that right knee. Extend the fingertips. Side angle. Get a little bit deeper into that leg. Open the heart forward. Maybe open the heart to the ceiling. Can you take your eye gaze to the ceiling? And you can always bring a block under that bottom hand, or just anchor. Take that right elbow to the top of your thigh. Lift up and expand in all directions. Keep the legs where they are, nice and strong. Lift up through the chest and the arms windmill back. Reverse your warrior. Sink a little bit deeper. So if you want a little challenge, lift that front heel. Send the fingertips away from that front leg. Take the eye gaze high. Exhale. Come forward. And just a few times, use the breath to flow through those two postures. Can you stay grounded in the legs? Touch the heel down, and then windmill all the way back down. Step back, plank, downward facing dog, or flow through a vinyasa. At any time, you can bring your knees down, child's pose, and rest. Just listen to your body. When you're ready, anchor into that right heel, left leg reaches back, three-legged dog. Bend your knee, open your hip. You can stay here, just open the hip really wide. Keep that left shoulder rolling down. Or flip your dog, lower left toes down, hips to the floor, and then press all the way up. Wild thing, hips to the ceiling. Let your head go. Feel that expansion in your heart. Maybe challenge yourself and lift that back foot. Oh, so good. Exhale, roll all the way back down. Find your foundation first, and then left leg reaches back. Hips and shoulders are square. Bend your knee, send it forward, and then step between your hands. Lower back heel. Set up your warrior one legs, arms reach back, and all the way up. Sink deep into that front leg. Square the hips. Left hip pulls back, right hip presses forward. Lifting up out of your waist. Set your eye gaze high. Maybe look to the ceiling, look back. And then hands to heart. You can step in maybe half an inch if you need to. Lift up through the chest. And then right elbow to the outside of the left thigh. Again, if you need to come up, right hand to the thigh, left arm reaches back. Keep that back heel anchored. Unless it's too much twist for that leg, you can lift up to the heel. To the toes, lift the heel, or anchor. Open through the chest, stack your elbows. One more breath. Chest reaches toward the front of your mat, and then elbow to the inside of that front thigh. Reach the arms floor to ceiling. Bridge the gap. Can you reach high? Can you rotate? While anchoring into the feet. Again, you can take that left elbow to the top of the thigh as you anchor and lift up through the chest a little bit more if you feel like you're rounding. So don't try to reach the floor if you feel like you're out of alignment. Always an option to bring a block under that bottom hand. Step into the feet really strong. Inhale, windmill up, reverse warrior. Sink deep into that leg and then lift the heel if you feel like it. Open through the ribs. Set your eye gaze high. You can keep that heel lifted as you flow if you want. Just a few breaths. Stay anchored in the legs. Really just feeling the fluidity in your spine. Set the heel, next round come up, expand, and then exhale, windmill down. Step back, plank, downward facing dog, or flow. Two more rounds of breath. Make them really deep. Last one. Full exhale out. Look forward. Walk, step, or float to the top of your mat. Lengthen halfway. Exhale, forward fold. Big inhale, sweep up. Palms press. Hands to heart. Find Tadasana. Next, inhale, sweep up. Exhale, hinge. Forward fold. Lengthen halfway. Walk, step, or float. Flow or skip the vinyasa. Look forward between your hands. Step your right foot. Lower your back heel. Take your hands to your hips and come all the way up. So both legs are straight. Step that back foot in just a little bit. The back foot is at about a 30-degree angle, so the toes almost point toward the top of the mat, but not quite. Lift up through the chest, and then exhale. If you want, you can take a half bind. Just clasp the elbows behind you. Or if you have reverse prayer in your practice, take your palms together behind your heart and then hinge forward. You can pause halfway, let your heart reach forward, ground into the feet, pull that right hip back, and then exhale. Forehead to shin if you have the space, or that head just hangs, depending on where you are today. Every day is different. One more exhale. On your next inhale, come all the way up, rise, lift up through the chest, and then release the hands. Hands come back to the hips. Right hand stays at your hip. Left hand reaches up to the sky. Exhale, hinge forward. Find that halfway point, pull right hip back, and then take your left hand right underneath your hip. Keep pulling that right hip back. Anchor through that back heel as much as you can, and then stack the arms so the right fingertips reach to the ceiling. Revolve triangle. One more breath. And then look down, soften that front leg. Take the hands to either side of the front foot. Walk the hands out just a little bit. So you have your right fingertips just to the outside corner of your mat, to the top. You're stepping forward into that right foot, lifting the back leg, kind of like an L split or a standing split. Anchor through that right hand. Fingertips usually work the best. Take your left hand to your hip. Press that left hand to open the hip, and you can keep a soft bend in that right leg. Flex your foot, open that left hip even more, and here's your challenge. Take a peek at your toes and see that your toes are lined up with your hip. And then once you have that space, as long as you can hold the balance, take the eye gaze high and stack the shoulders. Ardha Chandrasana. Keep pressing out through that heel. So if you want a little more room to grow here, bend that top leg, catch your foot or your ankle, and then press into that hand. Candy cane pose. Look down, look to the side, look to the ceiling, and then exhale. Slowly step back. Downward facing dog. Stay here or roll through a vinyasa. Finding your downward facing dog. Any movements or child's pose if you need it. Just to release that series of movements. And then when you're ready, left foot steps forward, back heel touches down, step that back foot in just a little bit, straighten both legs, and come up. Square the hips so that left hip pulls back, right hip presses forward. Lift up through the kneecaps, hands to the hips, clasp the hands behind you, or reverse prayer. Lift up through the chest, exhale, come forward. Find that halfway point, pull the left hip back, reach your heart forward. You can stay here or forward fold. One more breath. And then inhale to rise. Let your heart open. Bring your hands back to your hips. Find neutral spine. Your left hand at your hip. Right arm reaches forward. Fingertips to the sky. Pull that left hip back as you hinge. Stay here or hand to the inside of that shoulder. Left hip pulls back. Lengthen through your heart. And then stack the arms. Keep squeezing into that back heel. Extra stretch for the back of the leg. Take the eye gaze high, or wherever your neck feels happiest. Exhale, touch down, soften that front leg. Turn on the toes. Take your fingertips forward just to about the top of the mat. Left fingertips to the outside corner. You're coming up into that standing L. Soften that standing leg. And then once you find your balance, take your right hand to your hip, open that hip out, and just make sure that left hand is directly underneath the shoulder. So if you feel like your chest is coming forward, just adjust as needed. Flex that right foot. Look down the leg if you can. Line up your toes with your hip. Let that hip roll open. If you have the space, stack the arms. If you want a little bit more, bend that top leg, catch the foot or the ankle, and then press to open. Slowly soften that standing leg. Step back. Downward facing dog. Hold here or roll forward and flow. Look forward between your hands. Walk, step, or float. Lengthen halfway. Exhale, fold. Big inhale, sweep up. Palms press. Hands to heart. And then open Tadasana. Next, inhale, sweep up. Exhale, forward fold. Lengthen halfway. Exhale, step back. Flow through a vinyasa or just press right back. Downward facing dog. Right foot steps. This time the left heel stays lifted. You're sweeping up crescent lunge. Deep knee and bend in that front leg. Lift up through the chest. And then exhale, hinge forward. You're bending into that back leg. Launching forward. Warrior 3. Challenge yourself. Level the hips. And then reach through the heart. Touch down whenever you need. Take that back leg forward. cross your ankle to the top of the knee, sitting down into a standing figure four. So ankle to the top of the right knee, lift up through the chest, and then sink low, hands to heart. So if you want a little arm balance, take your hands down. You can start by taking your armpits to your shin and your ankle. Send the hands just a little bit forward. Hug your toes around the back of your arm. And then once you have balance, you can maybe start to lift the back toes. Maybe you start to straighten. Maybe today's not your day. Just play with it. Or just hold that standing figure four. One more breath. And then unwind. Wherever you are, step back. Downward facing dog. Roll forward. Flow if you choose. And press back. One breath in, one breath out. Look between your hands, left foot steps, back heel stays lifted, sweep up, crescent lunge. Sink deep into that front leg, lift up through the chest. Exhale, hinge forward, soften that back leg, and launch. Warrior three. Just settle your eyes, lift up through that back leg. And then take that back leg forward, cross ankle to the top of your knee. Sit down into that figure four. Hands to heart, lift up through the chest. And just notice the difference between right and left. You might have one hip that's really open and one hip that doesn't like to move. And maybe balance is challenging today. So just honor that. So if you want to come down, maybe you just practice taking your shin to the backs of your arms. And then just lean forward. Maybe you lift the toes. And just play around with it. Take a couple more breaths and just explore whatever posture, whatever variation you choose. And then slowly step back. Downward facing dog. Hold here or flow. One more breath. And then lower your knees down. You can take a couple cat and cow movements, or whatever you need to feel that release through the spine. So if you have a couch cushion or something close by, you can grab that. And coming into a hip stretch. So right knee comes forward. Open that front foot out just a little bit. And if you have really tight hips and that left hip doesn't square to the front, keep both legs bent. And then just bring your forearms down. Your pillow is right underneath that right hip. If you have the space, to square the hips forward. That back knee touches down. Take a peek and line up your ankle, your knee, and your hip. Your front leg is parallel with the outside of that mat, and then you roll the hip forward. And the tendency for this is to just collapse forward. Can you stay lifted? And if you feel like you're lifting up, if you're pressing up a little too much, prop as high as you need to go. If you can, flex that front foot, that'll help protect the knee. Keep pulling that left hip forward, right hip back. Lift up through the chest and see if you can take the arms back. Really open up through the heart space. Maybe take the eye gaze high. If you feel like you have the space, take the arms overhead, clasp the hands, and lift up through the chest. And then touch down. So if you want to keep it lifted, a little more active pose, and you have a hinge on that back leg, you can catch the foot or the ankle and just pull it in. Get a nice little stretch in that quadricep. Maybe it's not so little. Lift up through the chest. Maybe you hook the foot to the elbow. Preparation for your mermaid bind. Reach that right arm forward. Maybe you stay here, maybe you anchor down, fingertips to the floor, or you sweep up and reach back. Clasp the hands and then roll the heart forward. If you're not taking this active version, you can bring your forearms down and keep rolling that left hip forward. Just a couple more breaths. If you're in mermaid, you can release, bring the hands forward, lower that back leg. If you're in the more restorative variation, walk the hands in toward the knee, and then tuck your toes, lift your hips, press back downward facing dog. Find any movements that your body's asking for to release this posture. Maybe it's just coming right down into the floor. Child's pose. And then move your prop to the other side. Lower your knees. Bring your left knee forward. Bring your prop underneath your hip. And go ahead and roll all the way down. Again, the legs can be bent 90 degrees for both legs. And you bring your forearms down in front of that left shin. Keep both feet flexed to protect the knees. Or if you have space, turn the hips forward. Straighten that back leg. So the knee touches down. Outside of the left thigh lines up with the mat. Uncurl the toes if you can. And then roll that right hip forward. Take a peek, line up ankle, knee, and hip as you reach the heart forward. Stay lifted. And the more you open that front leg, the shin to the top of the mat, the more space you'll have to lift through the chest. But that takes a little bit of time. So be patient with yourself. Anchor down into that front leg. If you want, start to explore, reach the arms back. Open the heart. And then maybe take the arms overhead, reach back. Slowly release, fingertips touch down. So right away, if you want, you can come into that restorative variation. Or if you want the more active mermaid bind, bend that back leg, catch the foot or the ankle, and lift up. fingertips to the front edge of that front knee. Lift up through the chest. Maybe you scoot the foot right to the elbow. Heart opens. Stay here. And the trick here is to press into the elbow. So you're opening the heart forward as you're pressing the foot back. Let it be really active. And then maybe you have the space, that left arm comes forward and you catch, roll that right shoulder forward just a little bit more. Slowly touch down. So if you're in that passive, relaxed variation, maybe not so relaxed for hip openers, take your hands underneath your shoulders, tuck your toes, lift up through the hips, press back, move your prop, and find any movements that release that posture. Lower the knees down, and then walk your knees all the way forward. Cross your ankles and come to sit. So you can sit on the edge of your mat, on the edge of your prop rather, if you need a little lift, if you feel like the pelvis is tipping forward a little bit more. So one more hip opener. And you can do this in a couple different ways. So if you have, just make sure the ankle bones are right on the mat. The floor can be a little hard in this one. If you have really tight hips, you might just stack your ankles. If you have slightly more open hips, your shins stack and you go ankle to knee. Press that top leg down. So I've got my left leg over and my right leg under. Lift up through the chest. Flex both feet to protect the knees and send that top knee down. Lift up. Long spine. So this might be intense enough for you. You can stay here, or you can walk the fingertips forward. Fingertips just to the outsides of the shins. Roll the heart open, send the shoulder blades back. You can stay here or take that right arm back, find a little twist. Exhale, touch down. Stay here, or if you have space, maybe you bring the forearms down and you tuck your chin. How about 5 breaths here? And just notice if anything comes up. Any emotions, and just let them be. And just be in that discomfort. Slowly walk all the way back up. Release the legs and just windshield wiper the knees. Release the hips. We have one more side. Sorry to say. Your hips will thank you. I promise. Come back to seated. So whichever side you had crossed on top. So my left leg is under, my right leg goes over. You can either stack ankle over knee, ankle to knee, stack the shins, or ankle to ankle, or just cross the legs as normal. And again, notice which side might be a little more troublesome. Flex both feet to protect the knees. Lift up through the chest. Feel your sits bones anchor. So the points that are making contact on the floor, your sits bones, ischial tuberosity. Feel those grounding down. And then lift up through the crown of your head. You can stay here or walk the fingertips forward, fingertips just to the outsides of the shins. Let the heart come forward, roll the shoulders back. Keep flexing the feet and lower that top knee a little bit more. Anchor here, and then maybe that left arm reaches all the way back. And slowly lower. Stay here or walk the fingertips out. Lower the forearms. Release the head. And breathe. And come all the way back up. Unwind the legs, take the arms back, windshield wiper the legs. Oh man. That's a good one. And then come all the way down to your mat. You can move your prop. Roll down, hug your knees in. And take any last postures that feel needed in order to be complete in your practice. So just tap in. What do you need? Maybe it's another little twist or a bridge pose. Maybe happy baby or legs up the wall. Just take a few breaths. And then when you're ready, come all the way down to the earth, finding whatever position feels good for your final relaxation, your Shavasana. And then come back into your breath.